in light of the possible changes in the European approach towards Russia, how could the re-election of Donald Trump as the US president impact Europe's strategy, especially given many statements that he talked about, the Russia-Ukraine conflict and how he could resolve it with one phone call and all that?
Dramatically changed, dramatically. And we know that this call, the latest call of Olaf Scholz was already planned in a month with other partners, for example, with Macron, was one of the cards on the table, to use. And again, I repeat myself, to avoid the risk of isolation. And we know that also at European Commission, at the European Union level, the Ursula majority is not very stable. So the risks are quite high, to be isolated and to pay the cost. I believe also that the European Union, but each country that put a stake on Ukraine, want to participate to the post-war transition that has a huge financial potential for the reconstruction of Ukraine and also for the influence on what Ukraine will be and the role that will play politically. But we know also that Trump declared that Ukraine will not enter NATO, so this will have implication from, let me say, a defense perspective for Ukraine. Who will defend Ukraine? US,
yes.
European Union. So this is let me say, a huge risk for the European Commission, for the European Union, and for each member countries.
Okay, Mr. Williams, let's get your perspective since you're a former official at NATO. With Trump returning to power, do you believe that NATO is preparing for a shift in its approach, especially in terms of support for Ukraine and the overall relationship with Russia? And given, Mr. Ligori's statements as well that Trump will not be for Ukraine joining the NATO?
Well, it's all to be seen. Trump has been very, very vague, except he's made a promise to his own electorate to end the war. On what terms, we don't know. NATO decided with the Americans in July at their last summit to set up a NATO command of 700 people to support Ukraine. And this was taken with an eye on and as a precaution of Trump gaining power. So NATO does have the mechanisms in order to support Ukraine despite Trump. But realistically, I don't think that's going to happen. And Trump obviously has disdain for NATO. His main aim for NATO is to get NATO to Europeans to spend more money on defense. He will negotiate with Ukraine, with Russia, above the heads of the Europeans, yes. And that will be another humiliation, a sign of the weakness of the Europeans.